It's Tobago Thursdays, and we are celebrating every part of it, including the parts that we don't always celebrate usually. As Ruckus was saying earlier, some things we take for granted, and it often takes a foreigner's perspective to remind us of the beauty in our twin isle. That's exactly what happened when social media influencer Wode, and forgive me if I've mispronounced his name, but better known as Mr. Ghana Baby, Wode Meya visited Tobago and had an exceptional experience, thanks in part to some of our guests joining us on the Now Morning Show via Zoom today. So let's say good morning and welcome to Tefano Jessup of Classix Republic and Shaquille Jones of Dance and Movement, or rather, the Dance and Movement Coordinator for the Tobago Performing Arts Company. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Now Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning.
I know that you guys are still reeling on the high of having a man who has so much influence, not just in the digital space, but in terms of crossing that Afro-Trinidadian, well, Trinbagonian connection. So I'm going to start with you, Tefano, because I imagine the experience of having not just your own sneaker brand, but such a man of magnitude, if you will, wear your brand, it must have been a pleasurable experience to say the least. Walk me through how that happened.
Well, my friend Jewel Green, she reached out to me. She said that he needed a sneaker, and I was the first person that popped into her head, right? Because she's familiar with my family's brand, the Jessup brand, Classix Republic, 1976, and she thought it would be fitting to have something from Trinidad and Tobago that was designed here, something that we could be proud of. And seeing that, is someone that's an influencer that's traveling the world, we want a piece of our design and culture to go with him, of course. So I reached out to my team in Trinidad and he said, yeah, we would hook him up with a sneaker. And he was so happy receiving it. I mean, meeting him, he was so humble, down to earth. He's passionate about what he's doing, and we resonated with that. And it was a lovely experience, truly unforgettable. Truly
now, I know that you've shared images that we're seeing now and videos, but my first thought was, how are you going to be traveling that far and you need a sneaker? I don't know what went on there, but I want to get an idea of the actual personal experience with him, because you talk about him being passionate and just how fun he is, but you must have had an interaction that was like, yeah, this is absolutely somebody that could carry not just my brand, but any brand far. What was your biggest takeaway from your personal interaction with him?
I would say is that he knows that what he's doing is bigger than himself, right? And it's obviously costly. So any help along the way, or just organic interactions that would aid in what he's doing, I think that was really important. I think my biggest takeaway would be his humility. He was just so excited to be a part of something new,
right.
And the influence of Africa outside of Africa, seeing people do things and create and inspire. Yeah, I resonated with that.
I can definitely see that experience through his digital capsule that he's shared so far. But I'm glad that you spoke specifically about the African influence outside of Africa, because Shaquille, I'm going to bring you into the conversation now. You took on quite the feat of trying to show the person from the African continent African influence here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I imagine there must have been some level of, will he critique this? Will this be authentic enough? What was the thought when you tried to show him, well, exactly that, Trinbago's version of the African influence?
Well, let me first say good morning again to you and to Trinidad and Tobago. When I received my matching orders from my CEO, Mr. Jared Primer, I felt like it was the perfect opportunity for bridging the gap where culture and heritage and lineage is concerned. And one of the things that came to mind immediately is how can I show the cross-cultural connections between Tobago and Africa? Because part of what he's doing is really just trying to bridge that gap and showing the world that, Africa has a rich culture and it has its reach, just as Europe would have its reach across the world. Africa is just as strong and as powerful. So I decided to show a dance that was indigenous to Tobago that bore African influence, as well as one that would have came with our ancestors when they traveled through the Atlantic slave trade.
The pressure was on, but you came through.
I did.
Now, similarly, I'd like to ask your biggest takeaway, because what we often don't get as consumers of the social media content is that authentic experience, the things that are shared off camera. So what's one of the biggest takeaways of your experience with interacting with Mr. Ghana Baby?
One of my, I guess, the notable part of the experience is his passion and the desire to show the world that there is strength in the African culture, and to create that access to community, because I believe that one of the things that really happen in the world today is that we feel like if Africa is this place of less value, and what he continues to do is show the world that, hey, there is just as much strength, there is just as much wealth, there is just as much value, and it may not be in the tangible things like riches and so forth, but there's richness in the culture, there's richness in the people, there is values in the things that we uphold in terms of our beliefs and traditions, and creating access to communities that share in this experience is something that I believe is valuable, and I was very excited to interact with him in that regard.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, gentlemen, as much as you both expressed your admiration and your gratitude for the experience, you ought to give yourselves a little pat on the shoulder as well, because you exemplify the same pride that you identify in him as well. And we thank you for the positive representation that you've created in this experience. Yeah?
Thank you.
I'm going to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, because this is just the beginning. This is actually his first country for the month of December, I believe is what he was saying. So we know that there will be more visuals. I haven't seen anything on YouTube just yet, but we know Instagram was lit up. We know that other influencers across Trinidad and Tobago were thrilled to share the content and share the experience vicariously. So thank you for being a massive influential part of that experience, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
They've done a good deed for this season, but thank you for joining us here on the Now Morning Show, guys. If you just tuned in, Tobago bridge the gap with the motherland, as we see, through these two incredible creators and performers, making sure that the experience was positive for a major social media influencer. Stefano Jessup of Classix Republic, the sneaker brand, and of course Shaquille Jones, the dance and movement coordinator of the Tobago Performing Arts, joining us via Zoom so we can live vicariously through them. Guys, I really know that Tash is going to be thrilled about this one, because when we mentioned it in the trending that he was touching Tobago soil, you lit up.
Yes. So one of the things I wanted to know is Miss Trudy, or did Miss Trudy come? I don't think she did, because we didn't see her. Did we see her?
I think she did.
She did? Okay,
Miss Trudy is his partner.
wife.
Yeah, she did. There were other videos of her from her perspective as well.
There you go. See?
Yeah, but I don't think that she was.
Rockets was like, what?
Dude, just read.
And fun fact, did you know that he's also an aeronautical engineer?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. When they
I didn't even know who he was until like a few days ago.
Which is fair, because I mean the influencers is
huge.
And if we talk about the continent of Africa as well, just by sheer numbers, kind of like how Jamaica has that impact because of sheer numbers, the volumes are ridiculous. I mean, he has something like 1.4 million followers on YouTube. But the reason or the importance and significance, obviously, is because that reach now is extended to us.
Imagine.
A lot of people, like Natasha, will enthusiastically consume his content. So when they see Tobago in the light or through his lens, and it's not necessarily the same type as, let's say, an European traveler or somebody else, it's a beautiful thing to witness. The video on Instagram, not YouTube just yet, but you guys during the break, probably check it out, get your top up of your coffee or your influencer information. Either way, you want to do that and come back to us here on the Now Morning Show. We'll be back after these messages.